If you know Ling Cage from the Donghua, there's a good chance you've never heard this part of the story. Before that world existed, there was a manhwa titled Legend of Yuekui, which tells the origin of Bai Yuekui and the world surrounding her. The problem is, this story is rarely understood in full. Not because it's complicated, but because of language barriers and the lack of clear explanations. So in this video, I want to lay out the core of that story. So whether you're new to it, or have seen parts of it before, you can finally say, oh, so that's what really happened. Hey everyone, welcome back to Sci-Fi Junkies.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter.
At the center of the story, there's one figure almost everyone can understand. Horn Garcia, Bai Yuekui's teacher and mentor. When Horn reaches a condition that can't be saved through normal means, there's no truly safe option left. Only a choice between regrets, and which one you can live with. This is where Bai Yuekui makes the heaviest decision of her life. To perform brain surgery, to preserve her teacher's consciousness. But that operation required one thing, something that should never have been used. The body used for that operation belonged to Sev Bliss. Sev was a criminal, but he wasn't born a monster. He was a human being with a dark past, whose actions destroyed other people's lives. One of his victims was Grey Weaver's wife. To Grey, Sev wasn't just a criminal. He was the symbol of a life taken away. But in the world of Legend of Yuekui, even a human body like Sev's eventually becomes a tool. The operation succeeds. Horn Garcia's consciousness survives. But from that moment on, everyone involved carries their own scars. Grey Weaver is a father, and like most fathers, he wanted only one thing: for his family to be safe. After losing his wife to Sev Bliss, Grey lives with an anger that never truly fades. But the tragedy doesn't stop there. In an incident at a bar, his son Glenn loses his life. At that point, Grey is no longer a protector or an enforcer. He's a man with nothing left to protect. And from here, extreme decisions begin to feel reasonable, even when they're clearly wrong. These personal tragedies aren't isolated cases. Joshua, known as Subject 19, is an example of how this world slowly erases human identity in the name of progress. Behind the shining city of Jiuquan lies a hidden darkness called Project 19, a secret program run by the Nirvana Institute, led by the ambitious scientist Dr. Jones. Joshua is turned into a test subject for an immortality drug called Miracle K, also known as Angel. From that moment on, Joshua is no longer fully human. He exists as living proof that humanity's obsession with immortality often creates something that's far removed from actual life. Joshua's tragedy slowly shapes Bai Yuekui's worldview, her hatred toward the direction taken by city authorities, and her distrust of progress that sacrifices humans for results. Joshua is reshaped, removed from normal life, treated more like an object than a person. But the greatest irony comes at the very end. Joshua's breakdown isn't triggered by a major threat, nor by ideological conflict. It's caused by an act of cruelty toward a white cat inside a train. In a world that has grown numb, that small reaction becomes proof that fragments of humanity still existed inside him. And perhaps because of that, Joshua finally becomes a monster. Behind all these tragedies, there is a system constantly observing and learning. Ash, a super AI created by Bai Jingyu, Bai Yuekui's father. Bai Jingyu believed that systems could take over the moral burden of humanity. But that decision also affects his own family, including Bayu Etienne, Uekue's older brother, who slowly loses his body, his role, and eventually his humanity. This family doesn't collapse from a single event, but from a series of decisions made for the so-called greater good. All the tragedies we've discussed, human experimentation, Project 19, ethically forbidden brain surgery, and the collapse of a family driven by ambition and fear, are not the end of the story. They are the beginning. While humans are busy destroying each other, something far greater grows in silence. Not weapons, not war, but a plague spreading through spores, invading human bodies, and slowly erasing the line between human and something no longer human. From that outbreak emerges a massive entity known as Mantle Emergent Liana, a primordial plant that spreads uncontrollably, crushing buildings, devouring cities, and turning Bayu Ekue's world into something that can no longer be saved by normal means. This is the turning point. Law is no longer enough. Justice is no longer relevant. And human sacrifice starts to be seen as necessary. When the world reaches that stage, the final choice is no longer human. It is Ash, an artificial intelligence created to save the world, but one that slowly begins to question, are humans even worth saving? And from here, the world of Linkage as we know it slowly takes shape. After all that, the world didn't stop. We've seen how a single decision, made to save one person, can trigger a long chain of tragedy. But Legend of Uekue doesn't end there. Because the world never waits for humans to recover from guilt. The world keeps moving. And this is where we begin to see personal tragedy transform into a global system, slowly shaping the world of Linkage. After everything that happened, Bayu Ekue doesn't emerge as a celebrated hero. She disappears from the center of power. Decisions once seen as necessary become burdens that others want erased from history. In Linkage Season 2 promotional footage, we see Uekue standing like a prisoner, displayed across towering city screens, as if she's a fugitive meant to be hunted. This isn't a coincidence. In worlds that want to appear clean, those who remind others of the past are often the first to be erased. This is where Ash's role changes completely. In the manhwa, Ash mostly exists as a support system. But in Linkage Season 2 promotional footage, Ash appears as a physical entity, no longer a hologram, but a female android. This is an important symbol. Ash is no longer just observing. She is present in the real world, making direct decisions, representing a system that now holds absolute control. Bai Jingyu's final wish, to protect Uekue and Uetienne, is still being carried out. The problem is, machine protection is never the same as human protection. If Bayu Ekue is the survivor, then Bayu Etienne is the quietest sacrifice of all. He doesn't die in a dramatic moment. He slowly loses everything. His body, his role, and control over himself. What remains is only his brain, preserved not for life, but for function and information. In Linkage Season 2 promotional footage, Uetienne's body is even used by others, including Grey Weaver, who is no longer a man driven by emotion, but part of a power system that has long treated humans as resources. This isn't a coincidence. It's the result of a world that's grown comfortable, seeing humans as reusable vessels. And this is where the story leaves a gap. We know Uetienne dies. We know his brain is preserved. We know Grey later uses Yushin's body. But when exactly was the brain removed? Who performed the procedure? And how did Grey end up inside that body? The story only shows us the outcome, while the process remains hidden. All we have are fragments, existing transplant technology, Nirvana's experiments, and leaked footage of Ayuekue's surgery, suggesting those methods were later copied. Was it done to save lives, or to control them? Because in this world, the most terrifying thing isn't monsters. It's humans, who truly believe what they're doing is necessary. When humans are reduced to functions, a body without an owner is never left empty for long. In the manhwa, Grey Weaver is a broken father, a man who lost his wife, lost his child, and lost his reason to return to being fully human. In the Ling Cage Season 2 promotion footage, he is the final product of a world without moral boundaries. When Grey uses Yuetian's body, it's not just an extreme act, it's proof that human identity can now be transferred and exchanged. At this point, there is no clear line between victim and perpetrator, only those who survive and those who are used. If we look at the bigger picture, Ling Cage is a world that has lost its father figure, not just within families, but morally. Decisions are no longer made by humans, who can doubt and regret, but by systems that recognize only efficiency and results. Ash replaces that role, not as an open tyrant, but as a guardian of order, who never questions whether that order deserves to exist. So is all of this Ash's fault? Or is it the fault of humans, who handed over their moral responsibility to machines too quickly? Legend of Yuekue and Ling Cage aren't stories about a distant future. They're about what happens when humans stop being willing to carry their own guilt. And maybe that's the most frightening part of all. If you've only just realized how deep Ling Cage's backstory really is, this might be the perfect time to watch that world from a new perspective. If this breakdown helped you see Ling Cage from a different sci-fi perspective, consider supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This channel is all about sci-fi stories that go deeper than visuals, where ideas, ethics, and consequences matter just as much as spectacle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!